Post-match preview, West Ham versus Liverpool. And it's the one game now that you feel that if West Ham are to stand any chance of getting European qualification for next season, then this is it. We just simply have to win it. But I'll be honest, my confidence levels are pretty much on the floor now in the hope that West Ham will have European football again next season. The losses we've had recently to Crystal Palace and Fulham are very damaging. Of course, the Newcastle away result as well was bad. It's just put us in such a difficult position whereby now we're having to win games that you wouldn't expect us to necessarily win. Liverpool being one, Chelsea's going to be another. I just don't see it the way we've been playing lately. It's been really poor. Well, I want to say lately, this year. So it's a very, very tough game, but also tough to be confident about, you know what I mean, going into it with sort of belief. But that being said, mathematically, West Ham can still get 7th. And also, teams around us aren't exactly winning week in, week out. They're dropping points all the time. So there is still a bit of hope. But for me, there's the only way that it's going to be any sort of real hope is if West Ham beat Liverpool. And at least then that sort of breathes a little bit of belief back in. And you just think that we've got a few games. If we can pick up a couple more results, then you never know. But it certainly starts against Liverpool on Saturday. But before we go into West Ham, let's talk about Liverpool. Huge season for them in terms of what's going to be happening at the club. Of course, this is the final season for Jurgen Klopp, who's been an amazing manager for that club. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the guy in terms of his who he is, his personality at times. I find him very, very difficult to watch in terms of how he treats the media at times. Just a bit of a bullish attitude at times. And I just don't, I think that really lets him down. But that being said, with who he is in terms of what he's delivered on the pitch for Liverpool since he's been there is remarkable, really. He's done a fantastic job. And I know a few Liverpool fans and they're absolutely devastated that he's going. So it's a big change coming up at that football club. And it's, they're big boots to fill, aren't they? They're big shoes to fill, certainly, for Jurgen Klopp. He's done wonders for that club. And you can only imagine how anxious they must be now looking forward. Because we've seen it at Manchester United in terms of Alex Ferguson leaving. They've just never recovered from it. They really haven't. They're still struggling to today, aren't they? They're nowhere near the levels they were at. And you get the feeling that could well be the case for Liverpool, that they're going to be in a position where they've got a new manager coming in that's going to have to sort of try and emulate what Klopp has done. And that is a tall order. That is really, really tough. When you come to talking about their new manager, of course, it's quite tied in with what's going on at West Ham. West Ham, although we're in a sort of similar position, because it's very likely now we're going to be getting a new manager this summer. I mean, I'm pretty certain of that. Liverpool have gone about it differently. They've announced their manager's going. Klopp obviously announced it a few months ago that he was on his way. It was his final season, despite having signed actually a longer-term contract. He decided it was the right time for him to go. It's provided Liverpool some certainty. I'll talk about it in a minute, though, because I do feel like it's not worked out how they would have hoped in terms of that announcement. But that being said, at least it's given the fans, everyone understanding what we're going to be doing. My belief was that Xabi Alonso, was going to get the job. I thought that was going to be the case. But, of course, he's committed his future to Leverkusen. But at least they're able to sort of be public about their approach to other managers. They're gearing up now for a change. Whereas West Ham are playing this card of constant, we don't know yet, we're waiting. And I think that's hindering us, actually. It's causing a constant doubt over the club. And I've said it in previous videos, I'm tired of that. There's all these question marks over West Ham. Whereas at least Liverpool have been quite definitive in what they want to do. It's given that certainty to everybody, the media, to the fans. Everyone knows what's going on. With West Ham, you never really know what's happening. But it's interesting that we seem to be getting linked with similar managers. Arne Slot, who has been linked with West Ham for quite some time now. In fact, I was quite confident that he would be one of the front runners to be replacing David Moyes this summer. Appears to be now set to take the Liverpool job, despite Amorim, of course, being the likely candidate following the change of heart for Xabi Alonso. I want to say change of heart, but he made himself unavailable when it was expected that he would be. So Amorim was considered the favourite. And I think, we don't know the ins and outs of this yet, but what's gone on with Amorim. But it appears that he wanted that Liverpool job. That's what he was going for. And, well, it certainly doesn't look like it's going to be happening at the moment, as Arne Slot is very publicly talking about how he wants to be the Liverpool manager and they're trying to get a deal over the line. I find it all a bit odd. I do find this whole managerial stuff strange, the way people are kind of publicly saying they want to join certain clubs, they don't want to be doing this. I find it quite strange where it's gone away from the sort of the previous tradition where it'd be quite closed book. You wouldn't know what was happening. It'll be a bit hush hush. It's now being quite public. Like Arne Slot being obviously final manager, but publicly coming out and saying that's the job I want. This is good for my career. It's interesting. I mean, it's a way of doing things, I suppose. But I certainly wouldn't be feeling too happy if I was a final fan. You know, my manager coming out and saying that he wanted to leave. But that's what it is. It looks like Arne Slot will be the Liverpool manager next season by the looks of it. But as I was touching on earlier, in terms of Liverpool, they've come forward and announced this Klopp is leaving. As I said, I quite admire it in a way because, as I said, it gives certainty. But I was expecting it to really sort of supercharge their title bid, and well, they were going for the treble at one stage. Well, when I say one stage, not that long ago, obviously they were considered quite big favourites to win the FA Cup. They were considered certainly favourites to win the Europa League. And they were very much leading the way in terms of the Premier League title charge at times. I mean, obviously, you've got Arsenal and Manchester City that are vying it out as well. But many people believe that Liverpool had the edge and were really going to push forward. And you could sense that. You could sense that because of being Klopp's final season, they'd want to finish on a high. But it's really not happening now. But obviously, they're out of the FA Cup. They're out of the Europa League. And it looks like their title charge is over, really. The loss to Everton was horrendous. And not only was it horrendous in terms of the result, the performance was really flat. Considering the fact it's a Merseyside derby in a season where you want to go and win a title to end Klopp's reign at the club, it's a real strange one and not one I expected, actually. I was expecting them to really see this through. They come across quite damaged and it must be hurting. Not just Liverpool fans, but of course Liverpool players, the manager must be really hurting that this is the way it's going because they are now going to really struggle to win this league. Let's be honest. They're going to have to win every game and hope that Man City and Arsenal now slip up. That's a lot to ask. It really is, especially when you talk about Man City now, who just seem to be on that run, you know, when they get into that groove right at the end of the season where they just look relentlessly good. And it does appear they're in that mode now. I just don't see it. I think Liverpool, I think it's pretty much done for them. I think they're going to be finishing the season without a trophy by the looks of it. I mean, obviously things can change. But there's a lot of change at that club coming. It really is. As West Ham fans, we know that feeling at the moment. We've got it hanging over us, haven't we? A lot of change coming. We know there's going to be a lot of new players coming in because we've got players at the end of their contracts and et cetera, et cetera. We look like we're going to be having a new manager. There's a lot don't get me wrong, to be excited about as well. But when you've got someone like Klopp, who's done so well, I can't imagine there'd be much excitement. You know what I mean? I imagine there's a lot of more anxiety. There is excitement. Whereas West Ham, I feel like it's the other way around. I feel like we've got something to be a little bit excited about, as long as we bloody get it right, of course. Of course, Liverpool have been very much linked to West Ham players for quite some time. Jarrod Bowen has been a constant player that's been linked to move to Liverpool. Klopp's a big admirer of him. He's come out publicly and said it. So it's done us actually a bit of a favour him moving on, I think, in regards to Bowen. But he always seems to be linked with that football club. And so does Mohamed Kudus, because it looks like that Mo Salah will be leaving the club this summer. I imagine he will be anyway. It appears that's going to be the case. So it's natural that they're going to be looking at our players in terms of Bowen and Kudus. But I'm confident we won't be losing them personally at this stage. I'll get a bit of criticism for that. Last video I did, I was talking about Bowen, and a lot of people were saying I'm deluded for saying that Bowen won't be leaving anytime soon. But I don't think he will be. I really don't. I stand by it. I don't see a player there that's keen to move on. I just don't. Maybe I'm got the old claret and blue glasses on there, but seriously, I just don't. Talking about Liverpool before going to West Ham, though, a few players I think they've done remarkably well. Luis Diaz, I think, is just a brilliant player. I think he's been, well, he was linked with West Ham, wasn't he? And we were close to actually getting the player. But an incredibly talented player. Such a sort of spearhead in what they do. He's creative. He scores goals. He's just an all-round very, very good player. And I'm gutted we didn't really get him. He's just exceptional talent. But yeah, brilliant for them. And yeah, very, very impressed with him. Connor Bradley, of course, has come through from their academy and been fantastic. A great acquisition, young player that's really now making his mark in the Premier League and just looks at home, doesn't he, at this level? He really does. He's settled into this level of football really well. I admire it. Just a brilliant talent. And I had to talk about Mo Salah because it does look like it's going to be his final season at Liverpool. Maybe it won't be, but I think it's shaping up to be that. And he has been exceptionally good for them. I don't think anyone would have predicted him sort of being as good as he has been. I mean, you consider the fact he didn't do so well at Chelsea. It's taken a while for him to get going, but since he's clicked, I mean, this guy is still banging in goals, incredible numbers. Even still, it's astonishing how good he is. It's been a major part in Liverpool's success in the last few years. No doubt a Liverpool legend. So, yeah, he will be sorely missed at that football club. And he's just one of those players that you've got to look back and think, wow, he's been something special for the Premier League, Mo Salah. And it's the fact that he does it so often, you know what I mean? Every season after season, just scoring these goals and the way he conducts himself. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not overly thrilled with his diving at times, etc., and his theatrics. But I mean, we've got a player that does it, don't we, in Paqueta at times. But you ignoring that side of watching his actual game, he's stunningly a good footballer. And you can see why he means so much to Liverpool. And he's a big player for the Premier League to lose as well. But he's at that time. You get the feeling now he's at that moment in his career. He's probably thinking, I want a big payday somewhere. You can't really blame him. But that's of course if he goes. He may not. I thought he was actually going to go last summer, to be honest. Let's go on to West Ham. I mean, obviously the talk of the town at the moment is David Moyes, his future. It has been for so long, this conversation constantly rumbling, isn't it, about whether he's going to be here next season. I don't think he will be now. I've always sort of been a little bit 50-50. I thought I was quite certain he would be staying. You only go back on videos back in January. I was saying I was quite certain he'd be given a new deal. I thought that was going to be the case, but it does feel now that West Ham have made their minds up. I do feel the club now have decided they're going to move on from David Moyes. It's going to take a miracle for him now to keep his job. I think he'd have to win every game, get European football, and then might be the conversation of whether he keeps his job. But I just don't see it. It's right. It's the right time. As a club, I think even for him, it feels like the right time for him to go. I mean, let's be honest, last season would have been the better time. Getting the cup and moving on. I think that would have been a better time for Moyes, but he decided to stay on. It's a big game for him. You know, I don't care what anyone says. I got criticised a little bit about this comment recently about David Moyes wanting to finish on a high at West Ham. And I stand by it. Why would he not? I don't believe David Moyes is the type of person. I do down tools. I don't buy into that. I think David Moyes would want to finish well at West Ham. I think his desire would be to get European football and probably to earn a contract. He probably would want to do that. But I don't foresee him as someone that's given up at West Ham. I really don't. But our form has been poor. 4 wins in 21 games is shocking. It really is poor. I mean, we are literally, in terms of form and goals conceded, we're just outside the relegation sides. It's really, really bad from West Ham. And we need a change. There's no denying it. But that being said, we've got, focusing on this game. Obviously, this is the match preview for this game in particular with Liverpool. It's a huge one because it's the last chance. It's that moment where you feel like if West Ham do not win this game, then there's absolutely zero chance of getting Europe then. You know what I mean? We have to get this win. If we beat Liverpool and results go away, then you might go, do you know what? If we go to Chelsea, you just never know. But we are now clutching at straws. As I say, my confidence levels are not good. Edson Alvarez himself has come out an interview with the official website for the club and said this is basically a must win. We know it's the last chance. West Ham have to win this game to stand any chance of European football. So I really hope we see that. I want to see that from this team. Do you know what I mean? I want them to go out there and show that, realise that this is so vital if we're going to have any chance to get in top 7. We just simply have to beat Liverpool. And let's be honest, it's not a bad time to be playing Liverpool at the moment. Their confidence levels are shot. They've had some really poor results of late. Obviously Europa League included, but Premier League they've been really poor. So it's probably not the worst time to play Liverpool because they'll be knowing themselves. They'll be going into this game thinking, well, if we don't beat West Ham, that's it, we're out. So I think there'll be a fair bit amount of nerves on their side. Into the team then, Jarrod Bowen's likely to be back in the side. I'm all but certain he will be. I've only just done a video on it yesterday in terms of what I think is going to happen there. He will be back in the squad. I'm sure of that. Areola as well, I believe, will be starting. He's been back training. So I think those two will be back in the squad. Nigel Gerd is out with an ankle injury. I'm actually doubting whether he'll play for West Ham again this season and probably ever again. I'll talk about him in another video, but a real disappointment signing, in my opinion, Gerd. I'm really gutted, actually, it's worked out this way for Gerd because I had such high hopes for him when he started, but I just feel like it's been mistake after mistake, injury after injury. It just feels like it's not worked out at all. And the fact his commitment when it was the Africa Cup of Nations, I've been really disappointed, actually, overall, which might be a bit harsh, but I do feel like he's possibly played his last game for the club, actually, especially because he's got an ankle injury. But we'll find out a little bit more about that. I'm going to do my team. This is my team for the game, and my score predictions. Get your score predictions in. If you get it right, you enter the draw, and then you win something from our shop. So why not? This is my team. Areola in goal. Soufal, Mavropanos, if Mavropanos is available. He's 50-50 at this stage. Zuma and Emerson. So Areola in goal, Soufal, Mavropanos, Zuma and Emerson is my back line. I'm going to have Alvarez and Souček as the midfield. Lucas Paqueta playing ahead of them in the central role. Jared Bowen out on the right. Mohamed Kudus on the left. And Mikel Antonio up front. I think we're going to win this game. I've said this recently about bloody Palace and we got battered. So I really hope I'm not jinxing it. I just got this feeling we're going to win this game. Don't know why. I just think it's going to be one of them games. I'll tell you why, because it's the early kickoff, right? And it's always a dodgy result. So for the neutrals, everyone will be, oh yeah, Liverpool beat West Ham. West Ham are in crap form, and David Moyes' scenario going on, etc. It looks like the obvious game Liverpool probably would go and win. So that makes me think, well, I don't know. And these are the sort of games that West Ham sort of just somehow turn up and get something out of. I don't know why. I've just got this feeling. I'm going to go 1-0 West Ham. It's again probably got the cloudy blue glasses on, but that's what I'm going with today. I don't care. I want to try and keep it positive. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if you agree with me on that scoreline. Probably not, but go for it. Let me know what you think the score's going to be. As I say, if you get it right, then you enter the draw to win something. This really is the last throw of the dice. There's no other options. West Ham don't get a result in this, then it's over. There's no chance of European football as far as I'm concerned. And I think it's gone anyway. But if we win this, then suddenly there's a little bit of belief there. A little bit. Come on, you irons.